Today we are going to be going over lesson 1.1 relating integers to their opposites. So let's start off today with some definitions. So the definition of an opposite integer is an integer that shares the same distance from 0 as its opposites. So if we look at -1 and 1, we can see that both of these integers are going to be 1 away from 0. Same with -2 and 2, because they're both 2 units away from 0, and -100 and 100, because they are both 100 units away from 0. Now, the absolute value of a number is a distance between that number and 0. So if we want to think of the absolute value of -4 and 4, then the absolute value of 4 is 4, and the absolute value of -4 is also 4. So since we can see that those are both the same, we would know that they would be opposite integers, and this will give us another interesting way to find opposite integers. All right, so let's look at some examples. So right now, we're going to find the opposite integer of 4. So one way to do this is looking at a number line. So if we look at our number line here, sorry, let me change that there. If we look at our number line, we have 4. Now, to get back to 0, we are going to have to move 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the left. Now, if we move that same 4 units to the left, 3, 4, we will reach this number, which is -4. So that means that the opposite integer of 4 is -4. Now let's find the opposite integer of -7. So another way we can do this is by using absolute values. So remember what we said before, that the absolute value of opposite integers will be the same. So let's look at the absolute value of -7. Well, the absolute value of -7 would be equal to 7. And what number do we know also has an absolute value of 7? Well, obviously, since 7 is positive, the absolute value of 7 would be 7, which means that the opposite integer of -7 would be equal to 7. All right, so now we're going to look at a word example. So Jimmy walks into a store with a quarter, and he wants to buy a candy bar worth 25 cents. How much money will Jimmy have left over? So let's start by looking at this problem by just identifying what is in the word problem. So Jimmy starts off with a quarter, or 25 cents. Now, if he wants to buy a candy bar worth 25 cents, we are going to be subtracting here. And we want to find out how much Jimmy has left over, or a total. So let's see what we have here. Jimmy starts with a positive 25 cents. Jimmy spends, or he is subtracting, 25 cents. And now this gives us a total of 0 cents, because a positive 25 cents minus 25 cents, or adding a -25 cents, will give us a total of 0 cents. So Jimmy will have 0 cents left over. All right, so now let's look at some practice problems. So for these, I just want you to do them and then be ready to discuss them when we come to class tomorrow. So we just want to look at what is the opposite integer of 5, 7, -8, 1,000, 0, and -12. I also want you to be able to tell us the temperature was 8 degrees, and if it dropped to 0 degrees, what was the change in temp? And finally, the Kansas City Chiefs lost 9 yards on a play. On the next play, they had a total net gain of 0 yards. What integer represents how many yards they gained on the next play? So this basically is saying on the first play, they gained 9 yards. On the second play, they lost a certain amount of yards. And on the third play, they had a total of 0 yards. So we want to see how many yards they lost on that second play. All right, guys, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and be ready to bring those practice problems to class tomorrow.